What's happening, family? Dr. Joe here. Hope each of you are well and blessed. Very, very long or longer than normal post warning. So if you don't, if you're looking for a 60-second response or a post, this isn't the one. Had a question to come in. I'm going to read the question. Of course, the person will remain anonymous. Great day. I hope all is well. Super excited about where I'm headed. I have a son with autism. He is non-speaking and was diagnosed with epilepsy. He's been experiencing a bit of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder behaviors. His neurologist wants to put him on Prozac. I researched the side effects and I am against it. He just turned 18. We're seeking conservatorship. He's a picky eater when it comes to veggies. He thinks he's eating his friends from Vegetales. Pure heart, LOL. Do you have any suggestions? He hasn't had any seizures in over a year. That's a blessing, and we're grateful. They will take him off of his seizure meds next month. He had trouble sleeping, but he's doing a lot better with that. He stopped melatonin. We stopped melatonin, which is an aid for sleep, and added magnesium, which helps with relaxation. The healthier remedies we can use, the better. He's a happy and brilliant kid. Then it goes into some other things that more so describes him. And in order to keep her and her son anonymous, I won't read the rest. So that's the context of this particular question. And I want to give some insight, but this is a multifaceted question and it requires a multifaceted answer. So she's dealing with a son who is 18. He has been diagnosed with epilepsy. He has autism. He's non-speaking. And he has had issues with seizures. So one of the things that she said is her neurologist or her son's neurologist wanted to give him Prozac. All right. Now, look, again, we live in a time where there's a pill for everything. I think you guys know that. Any illness that or problem that we as human beings can have, pharmaceutical companies produce a pill. It's even gotten to the point to where there are things that are issues with people that will probably take care of themselves with time, but the issue is exacerbated. The issue is blown out of proportion to make people feel a certain type of way, which builds up the need for them to feel, I need a pill. So those are the type of problems that are all mental games, made people to feel, oh, I need a pill for this, when you really don't, when you really can address whatever issues and problems that you're having. And that is kind of a completely different conversation that we'll have. But anyway, so what is Prozac? Prozac is something that people who have depression or mental instabilities are oftentimes prescribed Prozac. But the major function of Prozac is to create serotonin in the body, to increase serotonin in the body. And serotonin is basically a type of feel-good hormone that is released within the brain. It makes you feel good. It improves your mood, boosts your mood, increases your ability to feel good, to have joy, to have peace. So people who are experiencing depression are given these pills that increase serotonin. So when you think about it, it's not fixing anything. It's a drug. It's just like any other drug. It's just like alcohol. It's just like caffeine. It's just like marijuana. It's something that you're taking it and for a temporary amount of time creates a certain feeling. Okay? But it's not addressing anything. Furthermore, epilepsy, autism, and all of the things that she said her child is experiencing has nothing to do with lack of serotonin. All right? Nothing. Now, one thing that people hear often on the internet is the ketogenic diet, Atkins, low carb, etc. And what a lot of people don't understand is the ketogenic diet was a diet that was literally brought to the forefront of society because of the benefits that it had with treating people with seizures and epilepsy. Okay? Now, what is considered the ketogenic diet? What is it? And then I'm going to apply it to her question. The ketogenic diet is when I have a low amount of carbohydrates in my diet. I'm lowering the amount of carbohydrates in my diet intentionally to force the body to start burning fat. When the body has a low enough amount of carbohydrates within it, it's no longer burning sugar, okay? It begins to burn body fat or fat, okay, depending on the surplus or non-surplus of the amount of calories. When the body is burning fat, the byproduct of that burning process or the emissions is something called ketones. All right. So when you hear of people who are on the ketogenic diet, basically what it is a diet that lowers carbohydrates to a certain degree to where the body is running off of fat or more efficient at burning fat. Now, the reason why the ketogenic diet and the low carb diet was used to treat epilepsy was because when you have a lower amount of carbohydrates in the body, what happens is when the body begins to create ketones, that ketones has an anti-seizure manifested type of manifestation in the brain. So the burning of ketones by lowering carbohydrates lowers, all right, the chemicals in the brain that trigger seizures. That's the bottom line as to why it works and has been studied. And you can do a lot of research and see that what I'm saying is factual. So any type of child who's dealing with issues of epilepsy, dealing with issues of autism, dealing with issues of obsessive compulsive disorder, the diet must be addressed. The processed foods must be eliminated. The carbohydrates need to be reduced, period. Now, OCD is different from seizures, but it's connected to sugar intake. Studies have been done whereby individuals who have OCD or obsessive compulsive disorder, people who have tics, they may bite their finger, they may have uncontrollable movements of their face, of their body. It's a lot of different manifestations of OCD. There have been innumerable studies that have shown that the lower amount of processed foods and sugar in the person's diet, the lower amount of what they call tics. So people who have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, whatever their compulsion is what's considered a tic. All right. So when you're having a child with OCD, autism, seizures, none of those children should be on higher carbohydrate diets. The average American is ingesting about 250 grams of carbs per day. A low carb diet is anywhere from 20 to 100 grams of carbohydrates per day. So when a child is autistic, when a child is experiencing OCD, when a child is having seizures, you have to lower the amount of carbohydrates, sub 100 grams per day, and you play with it until you find the sweet spot. You will notice that when you cut out cereal, when you cut out pancakes, when you cut out bread, when you cut out oatmeal, when you cut out the starchy carbohydrates to allow the carbohydrates that that child is getting to come from fruits and vegetables, legumes, etc. Okay, you know, beans, black beans, navy beans, lentils, etc., chickpeas. When their carbohydrates come from non-starch, non-processed, natural types of foods, you will see an improvement of personality in terms of their ability to follow instructions, in their ability to be pleasant, in their ability to be not as combative, in their ability to be less attitudinal. Now, the reason why this is also important is because when you're dealing with an autistic child, especially where she said non-speaking, all right, If you have a child that is speaking, and that child is on high amounts of sugar, high amounts of Pop-Tarts, honey buns, no protein, no healthy fats, that child is going to be a behavioral misfit at some ages. That child's going to have issues with attention span. That child's going to have issues with listening to his or her teachers. Why? Because it's a blood sugar issue. The blood sugar is out of balance. The sugar is creating these types of chemical reactions in the brain that's causing the child to not be as calm, that's causing the child to not listen, that's causing the child to not perform. So when you have an autistic child, like she's saying, that is non-speaking, the first thing the doctor should do is not prescribe Prozac. But the first thing that needs to be addressed is the child's diet. Anything that's processed needs to be removed. Anything that has sugar on it needs to be removed. Now, a lot of parents don't want to have this conversation and do this because the child may not like it. The child may be picky in his eating. And a lot of times parents want to give children what they like instead of what they need. Any child with autism, any child with OCD, any child that's having seizures, any child that is having any type of obedience issues in school needs to be on a lower carbohydrate diet. What is that? Less than 100 grams of carbohydrates per day. And those carbohydrates need to come from fruits, vegetables, legumes. You do that with your child, you will see a different child within 2 weeks. You will see it. You will see seizures go down. This has been studied. You will see tics decrease. You will see their mood increase. Okay? But not only this, but something else that parents do not do. Every child, you know what else needs to happen? Needs to be fasted. People get mad. Oh, you couldn't. And you know what? You can start slow. It can be a day per week where the child fasts. Maybe you have a day per week where your child does not eat until the PM. Why is fasting so important? Because the absence of food forces the body, all right, to do two things. Number one, it teaches the body how to burn fuel whereby there is no immediate resource in the bloodstream, aka sugar burners. If you're always in a fed state, the body always has this constant stream of glucose in the blood that comes from bread, that comes from rice, that comes from noodles, that comes from all the stuff that we're eating. When we fast weekly, at least, and maybe not even for a day, just staving off the first meal of your child until noon, maybe on the weekends where they're not in school. What it's going to do is going to force the child's metabolism to learn how to be flexible. The second thing that it's going to do is going to allow the child to maintain a certain amount of insulin sensitivity, which is antithetical to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is a precursor of diabetes. It basically means that the cells are resisting the insulin because the insulin is always being reactivated by the pancreas due to the high amounts of carbohydrates, specifically the processed foods that are in the child's diet. Okay? The way you cure a child of OCD, of seizures, of epilepsy, and improve their autism is not through pharmaceutical drugs. Prozac is going to do absolutely nothing for that child but give him a temporary boost and probably create other side effects. But any child with behavioral issues, any child with seizures, any child with OCD, any child with anything like that, the first step is the diet. Okay? So I couldn't do this in a few minutes. To the person who sent this particular message, the question, I hope this helps. I hope those of you who have children, family members, friends struggling with this, you can share this video with them, and I hope it helps. Once again, low carb is defined as 20 to 100 grams, right? The average American eating 250 grams of carbs per day. So you can see by that variance that it's a big deal, and no wonder why we're seeing the type of behavioral issues that we're seeing in schools, homes, etc. All right. Until next time, be well, be blessed. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.